Konnichiwa.
Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast.
Kia ora, Catherine.
Konnichiwa, Jane.
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you
As
too.
you say, ake ome. Ake ome. Yeah.
Yeah, and even in formal circumstances, I've heard them using ake.
Yeah, it's going
ome.
around a bit. Like, isn't that used to be like Gyaru talk, right?
Yeah.
Ake ome.
Now it's
And
gone
now it's
mainstream.
become very mainstream even. Well, I guess
Yes,
we're all getting older now, so.
we are too. So ake mashite or medeto. So it's the first two syllables
Mm.
from those two words. Happy New Year, right?
Trying to keep up. All
Well,
right.
keeping up with trends is quite the thing, isn't it? And I think Japan is really interesting in that every year, at the end of the year, they put out, or some group puts out the consumer trends that really were up the ladder in the year that's just been. And we found one. We spotted this consumer trends for 2025, and it was quite interesting, I thought. Like it's
Mm.
a kind of a sumo style ranking board, or what you might have in the Super Rugby, which team is at the top. It was like that for all the different products and experiences that you can have in Japan. And I think for those who are living in Japan, the first one, surely the first ranking one, must be very obvious to everybody.
Mm. It's a bit of a highlight last year, wasn't it?
Yes, so that was the Osaka Expo.
Yeah.
25 million visitors, more than that even, and 3 trillion economic impact, 3 trillion
Well,
yen.
amazing, isn't it? Because
It is
everyone
amazing.
was naysaying that something
They
chronic the whole
were.
way there.
There's a whole lot before that, wasn't there, with
Yes,
contracts not
gosh,
being
constantly.
completed, people not being
Mm.
paid. But there they are. They got there
Mm.
in the end. So that became the first one. And then there was this 3-hour kabuki film. Have you seen it,
I
Jane?
have not. I am waiting for the English subtitle version so that I can keep up with
Yes.
what's going on. So,
Well,
yeah.
let me know when you've got it, because Kokuho, a
Mm.
3-hour kabuki film, was pretty much a surprise box office
It
hit, much like
was.
Expo,
Mm.
and it hit the second ranking. But it's
Yeah.
really the ones further down the list, I think, that are quite interesting and probably maybe shining some gold for people who are coming into Japan. Did you see those,
Mm.
Jane? The other
Yeah,
ones?
so number three, coming at number three, sneaker loafers. So loafers is like school shoes. If you think of school shoes that kids might wear that have no laces, you just slip your foot in. It's called a loafer, right? But
Yes.
it's comfy. And I'm sure I used to wear shoes like this when I was a waitress in New Zealand 20 something years ago.
Mm,
And finally, they're making an appearance here in Japan where shoes tend not to be very comfortable, I have to say. We've
yeah.
even seen like the flight attendants on JAL this last year have been allowed to stop wearing high heels during service.
That's
Isn't that
quite amazing.
amazing? It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just this trend towards more comfort and trying to maintain some kind of formality as well.
I
So,
know.
yeah, comfortable shoes. And next on the list, Catherine, your favorite, you mentioned?
Yes. Oh, Lawson convenience stores started to do renting out of the car park as camping spaces.
Mm,
I mean, who thought of that?
what a great idea. I
What a
would
great
love to have
idea.
permission to park my car overnight in the convenience store car park. That would be great. Now, I hear that this has come out because everything costs so much right now in Japan, right?
Mm,
This is how it is all around the world. But
yes.
accommodation prices have really increased thanks to tourists. And so Japanese people, when they're going on a long road trip, will sleep overnight in a service area, or roadside service area. I've done
Yes.
it myself.
Right.
We quite often do it as a family. It's quite
Wow.
safe. Everything you need is there. But what's been happening is it's become so popular that you just can't even park your car, right? Getting a
Okay.
car park is really, really difficult. So Lawson has seen this and said, well, what if we just charge people? What a great idea. So it's just
Yeah.
right, they're rolling it out as sort of like a test at the moment, I think, but I believe that's going
I
to
love
be
it.
quite popular going
I think
forward.
that's so good. And then the other, was it number 4, I think, on the list, or perhaps it's number 5? Japan had this sort of, I don't know if you call it an increase, maybe it's not. You're the expert on bears, as
Let
in
me tell you.
BEAR.
Let me tell
Bear
you.
spray sold out in all the regions. And I know, Jane, you were pretty scared when
We
you
were.
heard about one in your neighborhood, kind of
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah.
Yeah?
It's been like a once in 10 years a once in 10-year event, the lack of food for bears in the mountains, and so they're coming down into the towns and
Naturally.
even appearing in my town, which I've never heard of in the 20 years that I've lived here. And
Crazy.
it was scary,
Mm.
just going out for your morning walk was it became sort of everyone was on guard and stuff. And so luckily I don't live in Akita, which is where most of the attacks happened, and a lot of people were killed this year, far more than usual. Yeah, bear spray sold out.
Mm.
Mm,
Well, let's see what happens this year and what's going on. But aren't
mm.
these really good clues to what could possibly be something that a New Zealand company thinks about to solve a Japanese issue? And so when you do really need to come here and
Yeah.
check it out on the ground, I think our next guest tells us this, is not just sit over there and from the sidelines, come in and get into the game and see what's going on, and you will notice something that perhaps Japan needs. So
Mm.
take that
Yeah.
as a good indication. And shall I tell everybody about who's on the show today?
Yes. Tell us who's on.
Indeed. Well, I was giving a bit of a hint there with on the sidelines and getting into the game, but it's Brandon Jackson. I've been waiting for him to come on the show for a while. He's General Manager of Growth Sectors at the Bank of New Zealand. He leads lots of initiatives there across industries, healthcare, technology, and ventures into Japan as well as Greater Asia. Before he was in finance, he did actually have a long time in Japan. I think it was at least 10 years.
Mm.
He was playing rugby with Japan's corporate leagues such as Ricoh and a previous team, Kurita Water Industries.
That
Kurita
doesn't exist now, right?
doesn't
Yeah.
exist, but he
Mm.
was there. We had lots of smiles listening to Brandon's anecdotes, and we hope that you'll enjoy listening to him too and have a laugh and gain something from this episode.
Yeah, it's a really great episode. Let's hear it from Brandon. Kia ora, Brandon. Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast. Great to have you on the show today.
Thanks very much for having me.
So we like to start off with a warm-up question, and our question for you is, we know you have a history with rugby here in Japan. Which teams are you following this season in the Rugby League
Top
One?
league. Yeah, yep. Always the Ricoh Black Rams. They're the team I played for and coached, so nearest and dearest to my heart.
Very good. I think we have a few connections in the Black Rams this season, so we're excited to see what they get up to this season with their new captain.
Yeah. Hopefully they climb the ladder. Yeah, always follow them.
And also, I've got a special bonus question. So I've heard that you've been known to do a bit of karaoke.
What? Yeah, bye.
With a certain somebody else who's also on this podcast today.
Oh dear. Okay.
So if you're out at karaoke, what song are you queuing up to sing? What can we expect to hear?
Well, it pains me to say it because apart from a couple of songs, I can't stand the guys singing, but Stevie Wonder, for some reason, suits my voice. That's a terrible way to start an interview, I have to say.
Bit of Stevie
fun.
Wonder.
That's
Things
right.
that people don't know about you. Yeah,
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've surprised Jane as well on that one. But as to Jane, you're going to ask me about my team I'm following. I have to follow the Toyota Verblitz. You know, they are in my heart. But I've got this new secret in the background love for Ricoh as well. So I'll be going for them as well. One of the drivers I interact with is a sure fan of Ricoh, and we talk about rugby all the way to and
Right.
from meetings in the car about rugby, especially Ricoh. He just knows all the players, the scores of all the games. He knows everything. So I'm with you on that one. And for the song, we can ask me the song, Jane. Well, I'm like you, but I don't normally sing much. I'm usually tambourine holding, and I think I did the night we went out, Brandon and Osaka together. But Tom Jones, it's not unusual. I go for male songs. I can't sing high. I go at a different tone, so that would probably be one I chose
Very
or would
good.
choose. And you, Jane,
Uh,
sports and karaoke.
Rugby, yeah, of course, we're supporting the Dynabors as well.
Oh, don't forget that.
Yeah,
Yes,
don't forget the Dynabors. So it's a Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Sagamihara Dynabors, as well as, yeah, very interested to follow Rico this season as well. And we got to know them a little bit better. And my song for karaoke would be, I'm the same as you, can't sing high songs. Also choose songs that guys are singing. Last Christmas, George Michael is a huge hit with the Japanese colleagues.
Yep.
Everybody gets into it. So if it's the end of the year, we'll definitely get out
Perfect.
last Christmas. Yeah.
Well done. Awesome. Well, there we go. Hopefully, another day, Brandon, we may have a chance to give our voices a bit of a go under the mic singing, but it may not happen. It might have been a one and done.
Well, if I'm doing karaoke, you can guarantee there's been a few beverages consumed by that stage. So
That's true.
it's a sign of a good night.
Well, Brandon Jackson, and also called Jacko, we know as your colloquial friendly name, you are the General Manager of Growth Sectors at Bank of New Zealand. You lead initiatives to help New Zealand's high opportunity industries scale, and you also do a lot of Asia, Japan-based initiatives as well. Before moving into finance, as you just highlighted, you did spend time in Japan. I believe it was a decade in corporate leagues, including Rico, and completing also, as well as rugby, a Master of Management in Sports Business Administration at Massey. You've built this career bridging leadership and banking and sport, and we really wanted to have you on the show today because we'd love to talk about finance area. You're our first finance guru that we're having on the show, and we just want to explore that leadership, what rugby has in common with Japan and doing business, and also, of course, lessons that you've learned along the way to help other exporters, Kiwi exporters who are looking to successfully connect in Japan. But tell us about that background you have and your very first connection with Japan.
Sure. Well, I'm an art student by background, and somehow then was playing rugby, and then had to come back to New Zealand and get a real job at the age of 35. And it was before the GFC, so all the bright young things were sort of doing 2 years as assistant relationship managers or getting started, and then leaving to London. And so they picked a couple of older people who'd done their OE to go into the bank, teach them banking. And interestingly enough, once you get over the technical hurdle, probably my English background, so I did that to sort of started doing a master's, and then was sick of being broke and went to Japan. It's the English background and the rugby coaching that probably providing, if there is any differentiation in my career. You said finance guru. I'm far from a finance guru, but let's run with that for the podcast, shall we?
Let's run with that. So when did you come to Japan?
So my very first time in Japan was 1987. I was with the New Zealand secondary schools on a rugby tour. Painfully skinny young guy. I've solved that problem very easily, I guess, and very well, I can tell you. But we went there and played a couple of test matches, and that the backline on that New Zealand schools team was absolutely stacked with guys like Jason Goldsmith, Craig Innes, Inga the winger, John Timu, et cetera, like just an
Amazing.
incredible backline.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
talk about experiences and memories. We played a couple of test matches, and in the aftermatch, we had our manager talk for about 5 minutes trying to explain the meaning of the haka. And a Japanese interpreter, who was my Japanese teacher at Auckland Grammar School, listened to it, talking for about 5 minutes. And he just said, "It's a Maori war dance." That was his translation after about 5 minutes. And we did a haka, which was received with great delight by
Yes.
the locals, and then the Japanese high school team. We sort of gathered together to reciprocate. And I was sort of humming this tune, and I thought, that tune sounds familiar. It was kind of, oh, I know that tune. What the hell is that? And then they busted out into YMCA with all the so
Oh
the
my
Japanese high school
goodness.
the response to the haka was YMCA, which still
Oh,
tickles me to this day. Yeah.
I guess they wanted
Wow.
something with movement, perhaps, right? And that's a great
Yes.
song, also a good karaoke one, I think, to get
It
everyone
is.
going. How
Yeah.
fun. What a great memory. Are you still in touch with people from those days when you were
Yeah.
there that young? And I guess through Rico times as well.
Yeah, so still stay in contact with. I mean, you make lifelong mates in sport, don't you? So a few of them are still on Rico, a few of them have left. One mate, Katsa-san, came down to New Zealand and played at the same rugby club as me in the late 80s, I think. We ended up playing, he was in that All Japan team for the high schools as well. And then we ended up playing together at Rico. He's got a izakaya, so I'd pop along there. But if I get to Japan, sort of special place to catch
Oh,
up. Yeah,
oh, love to go
Mm.
there. Let's go there. That'll be fun. We can talk
it's really
rugby
good.
and consume beverages.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we've heard that you've spent nearly 10 years playing and coaching in Japan. So how's that experience shape your leadership and business approach today?
Probably more than I initially realized. And I've thought about this recently that, consensus building is probably something I've picked up from my time in Japan when I was there in the mid 90s to mid 2000s. The old income with the red ink, and everyone stamped their name on things, and you wouldn't go anywhere without getting all that all done, and put it
True.
bluntly, some of the people adding their income to things weren't all that important, but it was important to get their support. And that stakeholder management is something that I think I'm acutely aware of, particularly as I work in a bank, which is a naturally and bureaucratic structure as it has to be, with risks controls and things like that. I think my time in Japan has massively influenced me. I read a lot of Japanese literature. I love getting back to the place. It's been a very, very important part of me as a person. And in terms of leadership, that consensus, stakeholder management, and probably thinking a little broader what it means to represent an organisation at times, it all comes from my Japan days, which I'm very grateful for.
So you didn't bring the red stamp system back to New Zealand?
No, I've got it
Oh,
somewhere. I had a
you have one
Jakusan.
made.
Yeah, you've got some quite good kanji there. You've also got a couple of horror shows. I think it's the best one was Young Respect, and the other one was something failure. So yeah, so
Ooh,
yeah,
and know which one to use when. But
yeah.
do you remember your first impressions when you actually got to Japan? Because learning Japanese back in New Zealand is one thing, but when you come here, what did you remember about your first sort of thoughts when you arrived in Japan? Can you think about that, both on and off the rugby field?
Yeah. Well, firstly, let's just be really clear. I studied Japanese at high school and did a couple of years at university, but I was the class dunce. There's about me and a couple of mates were the thickest guys in the room. There's no question about that. But something must have stuck via osmosis because when I was in Tokyo and then later on I moved to Kurashiki to play for Mitsubishi Jidosha in Okayama-ken, some of those lessons stuck, and so I had the framework and had a very good Japanese teacher, Mrs. Fujisawa. My first impressions, there'll be a couple of interesting ones. One of them was because I lived in Azumino, was watching a evening train roll in and the sun going down, and I remember thinking, this is beautiful. Azaleas are looking great. What a really nice place. And then a salaryman in a suit rolled off the train, vomited his guts out into the azaleas, and I remember thinking, well, you don't see that every day. So that's one of my
Mm,
very first impressions.
good fertilizer for the azaleas, perhaps,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
well, yeah. So that train line, yeah, there's a couple of sites on there, I could tell you. But the other one was when I first went to Rico, because rugby's advanced so much since 1994 when I first went up. We trained on a dirt field, so one of my early memories is clearing dirt out of my tear ducts and ears and nostrils from training because
Oh, wow.
we'd basically damp the field down with water before training just to stop the dust.
Yeah.
Whereas you go there now, it's a magnificent field. It's a credit to the company and sort of a reflection of how much more seriously rugby is taken, both in that company and in terms of its investment. Yeah, I've got incredibly warm memories of Japan. And in that high school trip, we got billeted, and Japan spaces at a premium in Japan, and the people are so friendly, so warm, and we were blown away by the sort of the farewell presents that were given to us. It was in the days of prior to compact discs, I think, or might have just come out, and just the gifts were unbelievable. The Japanese are incredibly warm and generous people. So those are some of my first impressions.
Playing on the sand, right? That's been turned into dirt slash
It
mud.
was
That's,
Rico was dirt. I played it and I trained it on sand at Mitsubishi Didosha. And there's one thing like the Gaijin don't know how to fall properly. So if you
no,
fall, you'll take the
yeah.
skin off your knees, bark your knees, and rip the skin off your thighs. Whereas the Japanese somehow have learned from childhood to tumble and fall without sort of opening themselves up. It's remember watching people and just going, they could do it differently to us. It's there's a skill here I'm gonna have to learn. Not sure how
Yeah.
to do.
And I think that's one of the challenges rugby has in Japan is that people don't have enough places to practice because a large percentage of the grounds are still sand or dirt and very few are grass
Yeah.
because grass is expensive to maintain, whereas sand or
I've
dirt is not.
always thought Kaikuya and that sort of weed grass you get in New Zealand could do a roaring trade in Japan. Just let it go loose.
Mm.
You have worked really deeply then in Japanese culture, corporate culture, working for Mitsubishi Jidosha, right? The car company as well as Ricoh. There's all of those principles that must have been instilled within you that you possibly could have brought back or could think would be really good for New Zealand businesses too, that they could learn from Japan. Anything you can tell us there.
Probably the biggest difference I see between New Zealand corporates and Japanese corporates, and to be fair, let's just remember I was playing rugby for the corporates, not doing 9 to whatever
9 to
salary
midnight, yeah.
9 to 9,
midnight.
yeah.
Yeah, thankfully. There's a funny story there I can come back to later. But New Zealanders, I find, and New Zealand business are quick to say yes, sometimes slow to build up the necessary resources, and then, saying go or make excuses for why things can't work. Whereas I find the Japanese, obviously, it's a simplification, generalization, but very slow to say yes and go. But once they've lined up, once they've said go, there is absolute expectation that we're going full speed ahead. All resources have been marshaled and way more productive, I think, in actually executing on things. It can take an age to get to the start line, but once you're at the start line, there's not a lot stopping you from going ahead, and that's probably the key difference. We'll say yes quickly, and then not necessarily get all things organised. It's kind of my initial impression.
Well, what about then from a banking perspective? Because there must be at least one thing that people often forget to factor in if they're sitting in Kiwi land and planning to export or work with Japan.
So I think probably one of the key differences there is Japan's such a specific market. So there's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done prior to going anywhere. And I think that probably the key thing to bear in mind from our experience, and I'm sure it's completely shared with your other guests as well, is that patience is required because it can take a lot longer to get things done. Relationship building is incredibly important, whereas Kiwis could do stuff on a handshake and move a bit quicker. But like to my previous point, sometimes I don't get all their ducks in a row, whereas you really need to with Japan. Patience is needed, and when you have patience, there's cost. So having that factored into the plan, the business plan, is really important from what we've seen.
What does that mean when patience equals a cost? I love that and I understand the concept, but what does it actually look like practically speaking, for example, if you've got a business plan?
So what I mean by that is cost, to run your business, there's operations cost, there's holding cost. And so if something takes a longer time than you anticipate to get organized or developed or into market, that's going to be more than you might have budgeted. And that's probably the key difference, is that when things take longer, there is a cost, both in terms of finances to keep things going, but also other opportunity costs that you may be able to get something across the line sooner elsewhere. But generally what we find is that people that are dealing with Japan have a really clear understanding of why they're dealing with Japan. Many of them are Japanophiles. There's something that they've fallen in love with the country or see the opportunity. In the bigger end of town, which is where I focus less, I'm more about trying to grow SME companies faster and more safely to help them scale up. It's okay for the big guys to be able to hold that cost, not necessarily for the smaller businesses.
In your role at BNZ in the growth sectors team, you were helping New Zealand businesses to expand into overseas markets. So what trends are you seeing among exporters targeting Japan?
Well, okay, some of the sectors that are probably most promising and interesting between New Zealand and Japan is the aerospace sector. So that's something that we've been pretty keen to support, even though debt which banks provide is a challenging product to use in that sector, given its longer timeframes, its early stages, because banks generally operate in the mature industries, well established. One of the things we're trying to do in growth sectors to play a bit earlier, because some of these sectors and industries in New Zealand that really need help and really offer future prosperity for New Zealand by higher paying jobs, differentiated sort of market propositions. Aerospace strikes me as being one that really lines up. And with what's happening in terms of tractors in the sky sort of stuff, drones, etc., New Zealand's really well placed because we've got a well-established aviation authority that's internationally respected. We've got clear skies, not many planes flying through the place. So being small and remote actually is kind of helpful for that. So we see that as an opportunity for Japan, for New Zealand producers and others as well. I think defence is going to be something that continues to be opportunity for New Zealand, and obviously it's quite a volatile world at the moment. So that's again somewhere where New Zealand has got a pretty long history there with Japan. And there's always the food and beverage side of things, which the bigger players are already well established. But what's kind of interesting is where some of the smaller players might show up. those are sort of the things we could observe.
Fantastic. In your growth sectors team, how do you support, say, aerospace, for example? What are you doing there to help? And tell us a bit more about what your team does, because people are listening here and thinking, well, how can Brandon help me? And I think it's a great chance for you to explain what you're doing to help these people.
Sure. Well, probably the key thing is to be part of the ecosystem, to understand who the players are, how the industry operates. And so we've taken a deliberate stance with growth sectors to move into areas that may be a little bit challenging, that like our customers do, try and occupy a niche that perhaps others aren't. With banking, if you can, it might sound incredibly boring, but yeah, try to talk up banking, but kind of make you laugh a little bit here. But
Yeah, I know it's
yeah,
hard.
we
Yeah.
occasionally wear a
Yeah.
blue suit as well as a grey suit. But if you can understand the risk, then you can mitigate the risk. If you can mitigate the risk, then you can probably make revenue out of it, which is what banks thrive on. And that's a good thing, because if you can get capital into a industry and a bank is participating, then it kind of brings legitimacy and normality to it. And it's like a coalescent sort of factor. Other players participate. So our sort of strapline for growth sectors is that we want to grow New Zealand's prosperity by growing New Zealand businesses and their people. So grow the business, grow the people, and we invest in the people and we invest in the businesses. If you've got a bank as a stakeholder in those industries and in those companies, it can be pretty powerful. So in terms of aerospace companies, initially it's by providing just very basic banking products and
Facility. Yeah.
facilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
While it's early days with aerospace, we've got a thing called Project Scale Up, we've yet to see an aerospace company use it, but it's just a matter of time. Basically, when companies have a certain level of annual recurring revenue, we like to relax the credit criteria so they can reinvest in themselves and scale up quicker. They are for more established companies, to be honest, but it's just a matter of time before those companies get the scale that's required.
But SMEs could utilize that, right? Up and coming, or just 2 to 3 or 4
Yeah.
years into their growth of SMEs size businesses could use Project Scale Up and use
Yeah.
that for Japan even?
Well, for whatever, yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing we've got is contracted receivables, and we've kind of developed this for the aerospace and climate clean tech industries, because those are areas that we see New Zealand having an advantage. And that, if we, like I said before, if we can play our part alongside those companies, they will accelerate their growth, which is good for everybody. So what I mean by contract receivables, so quite often when it's a technologies based solution or a climate clean tech or aerospace, whatever it might be, what you'll find is that it might be a smaller New Zealand company with really great IP, great smarts, and for them to scale up its people. And there might be hardware involved, there may not be hardware involved, but
Right.
if we can recognise the value in the contract, take a view on the execution risk, and then accelerate their, or fund them so they can actually deliver on the contract, then we can really scale up New Zealand companies pretty quickly.
That's very exciting. Good to hear.
Yeah, we've got one really good example of Science Aerospace. We've got a private capital function. I've had sort of 20 years in banking where you see undercapitalized businesses, and then you also see investors looking for opportunities. And so our private capital role, which is run by Linda Sturgis and our team, introduces investors to companies seeking step change growth. And the best example there was a company that was spun out of another environmental company, is focusing on drones and tractors in the sky sort of stuff, which are safer, cheaper than having people fly helicopters, etc. And that company has scaled massively, going from a few 100,000 to tens of millions, and that's how quickly some of these companies can grow. So we want to play our part in that.
Are they thinking of, or in Japan, that company? If possible?
It's possible. The fact they are very much in the UK at this
Yeah.
stage. Yeah.
Hey, what's a tractor in the sky?
Well, it's basically a drone that can carry things.
Right.
Got
So
it.
can carry a greater payload. They've
Yeah.
also got unmanned surface vehicles, boats that are remote
Yeah.
controlled.
Yeah.
So it means that humans are safer, and it's cheaper to transport things.
Well,
So you take a lot of cost and risk out.
brilliant. Someone listening might be ears pricked up on that one. Who knows?
Well,
And
they're all
very
over
exciting.
LinkedIn. They're doing some great stuff.
Fantastic. That's a
Yeah.
great story to hear. And we sometimes, we find on Jandals in Japan podcast is that Kiwis don't talk about these things. And so having something published like that we can talk about is brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
New Zealanders do some incredible things, I tell you. They really do.
I guess that leads nicely into, say, common pitfalls or blind spots that some Kiwi businesses might have, especially if we're talking about here on the show, Japan.
Yeah.
Anything you can see that they're just not really thinking about? Need to get their, what is it, thinking cap on? That's pulling
Yeah,
out one from the old dad days.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that sort of pop out. What is obvious, one is what works in New Zealand is not necessarily going to work in Japan. You've got a very different market. So obviously, market validation is really important. I think, obviously NZTE and those good people do really great work helping there. The other thing which I sort of mentioned, is the time frames seem to be much longer with Japan. Then you've got, it's probably the unknown as well. You've got quite complex distribution networks and relationships that you may not be aware of. You can't just rock up to Japan and think you're going to do things really quickly and your way. You really do have to fit in.
You know, that happens more than we think, the rocking up bit.
We have our own sort of way of doing business, and the Japanese have theirs. And if you're going to try and deliver in Japan, then you have to understand first and play along along those lines. It's probably something I realized after being in Japan for a while. You've got networks of relationships that you won't be aware of.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had David Downs on the show from New Zealand Story, and he
Yeah.
talks, and it still rings in my ears, the naivety sometimes
Yeah.
of New
Yeah.
Zealand companies, and not as a dissing, putting New Zealand companies down. It's just the way we can be overly friendly or overly simplistic, but
Yeah.
really do get your thinking cap on for coming here and do some research. Brilliant tips.
All of those things end up costing money, right? And so
Hmm.
if that's what I'm saying. You've got to be really well prepared, well planned, well funded, and spending time building those relationships and understanding the networks of relationships is really important.
Mm. So, what else do you think that Japanese investors or partners are looking for in New Zealand companies? Have you noticed anything there?
Japanese companies are very good counterparties, and I think there's a cultural where we might have business differences. There's a cultural similarity. I think Japanese are very patient investors. We've seen that, albeit there's some challenges at the moment with the cost of power in New Zealand, obviously. But generally, they're very good counterparties. They're very trustworthy. And once you've built that relationship, I do believe that Japan is a very good market and a very good business partner to be dealing with.
If someone's preparing a pitch to a Japanese company from New Zealand, what's one or two things they should put in there that you think would be really helpful? And maybe it's not all about monetary or finance. It might be something else more personal, but what would you pop in there? Like, have you got a pitch deck?
I think it's not just the transaction, it's who's involved on both sides and how you're trying to meet the business partner's needs. That's, kind of an obvious, but you'd have to show that you're in it for the long haul and that you've got the resources to do it. Yeah, and I think that you'd have to show that there's a relationship there to be had and built upon. We can be a little bit transactional compared to the Japanese, so anything that sort of pitches to that or proves that, if there's a sounding out period or a testing period that you'd want to deliver, and then make sure you're taking steps to build that relationship as best as you can, acknowledging, of course, that some of the people you're talking to may not be the decision makers. They may be elsewhere in the room or not even in the room. So I'm always trying to figure out who the key decision maker is and how you pitch to them, whether they're actually there or not.
Well, perfect. I mean, come on, that was a great pitch deck. I want to, yeah, fantastic. Is
Not
there
bad for off
anything
the
that
cuff, I suppose.
I know you prepped a little bit for this? Is there something we've missed in asking you so far that you thought, I wanted to say that? Perhaps it relates to like you and your role, like seeing yourself as a bridge between, the innovation that you're doing and cultural understanding. You're a real gem within the organization that other people don't have what you've got, right, within BNZ. So how are you seeing that finance or yourself as a kind of bridge between the two countries,
To be blunt, I want to see more.
right?
I feel that New Zealand has not forgotten, but perhaps overlooked Japan a little bit as a partner. Obviously, New Zealand deals with China, and China's a massive market, and they take a huge amount of our exports, that sort of thing. And I'm not, dismissing that or undermining that, but you want to have eggs in various baskets. And to me, Japan has been a very well-established, long, trusted, relationship, and we've my view. We've probably possibly taken it a little bit lightly and for granted at some times. And
Bingo.
you
Yep.
know, I just want to make New Zealand businesses aware that this is a really good trusted counterparty. There's a lot in common. Any Kiwi goes to Japan, they fall in love with the place and the people almost immediately, right? I don't see that changing. I really don't. So if there's one thing I can do, it's encourage New Zealand companies to think about whether Japan's relevant. We talked about trends before. You know, obviously geothermal is another opportunity. I've talked about aerospace. Yeah, there's a number of areas that New Zealand could intersect with Japan, and it's a good country to do so with.
Yeah, I really like how you use that term that, yeah, New Zealand maybe has taken the relationship a little too lightly in the recent past. And yeah, maybe it's time to get serious a little bit more with the relationship with Japan.
Yeah, well, I think that happens at a political level as well as a you know, regional level. But it's also, you know, New Zealand is a small country, so we can be herd animals at times, and you know, we focus on one thing. But what I guess what I'm trying to do, and what others are like us in your good selves, is to raise the awareness of Japan as someone to do business with.
Yeah, we love doing it. And it's also really fantastic when we have high level leaders from New Zealand come through to Japan, as we had recently with Nicola Willis, Finance Minister, come through. She spoke at length at a breakfast meeting about the value of Japan between Japan and New Zealand, sixth biggest export country, and just re-emphasizing the fact that this is vital for us, and visiting a lot of the New Zealand investment companies, as in Japan companies investing in New Zealand. And that's what we also need, is to refresh people's memories and minds about it and not take Japan for granted. We're three converted people, but we do need to expand our harem of others who are really wanting to be within this amazing ecosystem that we are in. Thank you for bringing that out, Brandon.
Couldn't agree more.
I think we also heard recently about the competition that is going on between countries for the attention. So I've never really thought about that before, but you know, there's all these other countries that are also courting Japan, and we have to compete against them whether we like it or not. But maybe we never really even got in the game very much here potentially.
Yeah, this might be a little bit controversial, but my personal view on New Zealand after COVID is that we've got a little bit smug and complacent, to be perfectly honest. We sort of think that we're doing better than what we are, if I'm being blunt. And that, you know, New Zealand's got a lot to do, and it's been a pretty tough time, and we're not competing. We're not doing that well compared to some of our competitor countries, and it is a competition. And I sort of think people forget that sometimes, that no one owes us a living. No one's going to give us, you know, anything for free, or because we're nice people with a nice country that's a good place to holiday in. Like, we actually have to earn our place in the world, and I think we've got a little bit slack, to be perfectly honest, and we need to sharpen up and look at who we want to play with and who we trust, and who we know are good long-term partners. And for me, obviously, some products and some services are not going to suit Japan. That's fine, but where it does, and as a country, we need to make sure that we're focused on working with the best. And my personal view is that Japan's right up there, acknowledging that I spent 10 years there, so perhaps understand it a bit more than others.
Perfect. That is just so ambassadorial of you to be talking so proudly of Japan. And we agree with you. But we really are proud supporters of Japan, and that's why we do this podcast. I wanted to ask you a couple of personal reflections too, perhaps, Brandon. And what's a Japanese word or concept that still resonates with you? Is maybe kompai or tori aizubiru, but is there anything else that you like?
Well, that's probably the most common one, isn't it? So we've got a bunch of principles that we sort of operate by in growth sectors. You know, we try to attract the market to us, try to have the best bankers in market, and there's a few things that go into there. There's a few list of others, but the one that probably aligns to your question about what have I taken from Japan, or what do I still think of, is the gambaru and gaman sort of concepts. You know, so grit is one of our growth sector mantras or principles, because sometimes it's hard to do good things and it takes time, and you just got to, in a bank, it's a bureaucratic structure, as I said, you've got to grind your way through, and then just establishing things sometimes can be really hard work. And if you're trying to innovate within a bank, that can be hard work because all of the banks are trying to simplify and they're all trying to get over technology hurdles, legacy sort of technology stacks from the 60s and 70s. So in a way, we're swimming against the tide by trying to innovate and bring new products and processes to market when all the banks are trying to simplify and reduce. So Gaman and Gambaro are two things that sort of stick out.
Very good. If you could sum up Japan in one feeling or lesson that Kiwis should know, what would it be?
Focusing on the positive, I just think anybody should go there at least once, and if they go there once, they'll go more than once. They'll fall in love. So yeah,
That's a good point. You've got to come here, right? Like, don't
Yeah.
sit on the sidelines and think you can work it from, wherever you are in New Zealand. Come here,
Yeah.
put your feet
And
on the
also,
soil.
yeah, and judge, and also the converse of that, judge it from afar. It's not a place I need to play in. That's not for me. Well, just check it out first, and then you'll make a decision, right?
Yeah. No,
So
I think
both.
anybody who goes there, and obviously the exchange rate's way better than it used to be for
Yeah,
Kiwis.
lucky you lot
Um,
coming here. Yeah, come
yeah,
on
yeah,
over.
that's right. I just think get amongst it,
And if
go
they
for it.
do come here, what's your favorite food or meal that you would love to have here that you'd recommend to people to have?
Okay, well, you don't get to my size by restricting to one meal. So I've got a couple here. So if,
Okay.
one of the things I always like doing when I'm in Japan is to go to unagi restaurant and have unagi and then a couple of beers with that.
Eel,
Um,
right? Grilled
yep,
eel. Yeah.
yeah, grilled eel. Yep, hard to beat. And then this is probably revealing too much, but if you've had a couple more beers, then having a ramen on the way home.
Right.
At a yatai is one of the stalls. It's kind of
Yes.
one of my perverse pleasures. Yeah,
Yeah,
Love it.
that is the way to do it here, isn't it? You've got to have
yeah.
the homeward bound ramen. Yeah, very good.
Your best rugby memory for Japan. What would that be?
Oh, it's probably when I was coaching Rico with Paul Feeney.
Hmm.
We were the underdogs and we're playing Toyota, who was absolutely stacked. And put it bluntly, we thumped them, and we put a game plan in place. It worked perfectly. You could not have scripted it better. And they got knocked out and relegated, and which was not the expected result. And we were in the top league the first year it started. So
Whoa.
we were, as coaches, we were legends. And then the following year, we had a couple of injuries, and we were back to being morons again. So you
Sure.
know,
Up and down the ladders, right? Snakes and
well.
ladders, even.
The old
Yeah.
saying is that you're as a coach you've either been fired or waiting to be fired is very true, and it hasn't changed. I still coach here back in New Zealand, and I was decided at about 2012 that coaching at the Auckland Colts was as far as I wanted to go because didn't want to be reliant on the person with the whistle or some twit that keeps making the same mistake at training,
Wow.
then does it on the field and costs you your mortgage. So yeah, it's anybody that's ever been involved in professional sport coaching will know it's possibly one of the most brutal pastimes of all
Oh,
time.
yes. Any advice for the
Coaching
current
discipline.
head coach of Rico Black Rams?
No, no, I'm not putting my neck out. I'm not going anywhere near that one. No.
All right. No, good answer. And any projects coming up that you'd like to promote or talk about? Anything coming up in your journey that you would like to share with us?
We're actually just going through a strategy reset at the moment, so probably a fraction early to say, but everything we're doing is trying to grow New Zealand business. So yeah, and looking at how we utilise either investors to grow New Zealand businesses, or and line it up with debt. Whether the strategic migrant play that we have, bringing in high net worth
Mm,
migrants and essential migrants, we bring in a lot of the tech and health workers into New Zealand. Again, high productivity, high revenue, high opportunity
great.
industries. So just more of the same, really. Yeah.
Fantastic. And aspirations for your next chapter with Japan?
Oh, I just want to get back there. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
when are you coming?
it,
Yes.
When's your next
not
trip?
sure. It's a short answer. It'll be sometime next year.
Fantastic.
It's a funny thing. I spent 10 years, from the age of 24 to
Mm,
roughly 35 with a year back in New Zealand. And so by the time, if you count being an adult from 20, when I was 40, I'd spent 10 years in Japan and 10 years in New Zealand. So 50-50. So just being back there, and even little things like riding the train lines around the Denen Toshi line and the Ginza line. Just it's a happy place, It's
Yeah.
got a very, very warm affection for the place. So
And there must be a hidden gem you have in Japan that you'd like to share before we wrap up.
yeah, it's a bit of a random one actually, but
Yeah.
I went here with my wife years ago. Tomanaura, a little port town. It's Hiroshima Prefecture, I believe, from recollection. We had a great time. So we always talk about, remember that little place we went to and had a great meal, had a look around at the history. So if you want one off the beaten track,
Mm.
I'm not sure too many people
Oh, lovely.
would know that one.
What's it again?
Perhaps I'm wrong.
Tomora
Tomanaura,
Tomora
Tomonoura.
Tomanaura.
Tomona
Tomonoura. Well, it's at the Ura, it's in the back, so that's why it's
Yeah,
probably not found.
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
great tip.
I had a look on online recently, and there's been some
Yeah.
filming done there. So
Oh,
perhaps it's now a little more well known than
maybe.
what it was when I was there.
And any questions for us, Brandon?
Oh, I just firstly, thanks for having me, and love what you guys are doing with promoting connections between New Zealand and Japan. Obviously, I will have shown from my conversation that I'm a big fan of it as well. So no questions, just other than it must be still hot over there, is it? Was it cool? Starting to
Cool.
cool
We're
down.
hitting autumn is here finally.
It's
Thank
here, is it?
goodness. Yep.
It's good weather,
Mm.
finally. Yeah.
Finally,
It was
yeah,
excruciating summer, that's for sure.
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you, Brandon. You are now a Jandal in Japan. Welcome to the community, and I look forward to seeing you in New Zealand sometime soon. And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. What a great chat with him about all things banking. Siles Aerospace. What a
Tractor
cool
in the
company.
sky. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, that was so super informative. He did his research, didn't he?
Mm.
And also just knew so much from his daily work. Of course, dealing with this are amazing. But I loved his throwbacks to the time he was in Japan. It's really had an impact on him. Like I have to laugh because I get the image of that red inkan being, stamped on paper, which still happens here.
I'm thinking about the poor people trying not to get cut up by like crashing, tackling on the sand field, and getting all like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So it's quite a contrast, isn't it? Like part of Japan hasn't changed with the red inkan stamps going on documents. Sure, it's a bit of digitization there, but basically the same. Yet
Basically, yeah.
it has changed if you think about the dirt fields. They've now really grasped those up. So
At least for the professionals, yes. Yay.
he was
Anyway.
very clear, wasn't he, about Japan being a bit of a country where it's slow to get eyes on something, but then once they get going, it's like a Ferrari, right? It's
Yeah.
way to go.
Full
So
s-
New
full steam
Zealand
ahead.
is the other way, right? Maybe they're very quick to say something and then, whoops, sorry, we hadn't actually done all of that, slow to pick up. So where's the happy median on that? I'm not sure. Is there any country that does it super fine, or is there some way New Zealand can move a
I've
bit
yet to
that
hear of
way and Japan
anyone
can move a bit
who's
that way?
doing it better, but
I
anyway,
wonder.
yeah. Mm.
I don't think those things are going to change much, though, right? But I did love, as you've just pointed out, was that pointing to space.
Yes.
And not just because we've got clear skies and we don't have many aeroplanes flying over or other objects. It's that aviation authority, quality, and expertise that I hadn't really heard anyone pick up. But Brandon put his finger on that one.
Yeah, and combined with a innovative thinking, we can create anything here in New Zealand. Look what they're creating. It's amazing the things that are coming out of these aerospace companies in New Zealand. Amazing.
And I thought that comment about New Zealand being very transactional was quite interesting because we often think we're not at all like that and that we're super lovely and fluffy and friendly. What did you think about that comment?
Oh, I was like, oh, busted. We should.
Oops.
Yeah.
There goes the mirror up in front of us.
Mm, yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, that's got me thinking afterwards what to do about that. How do we move on that one?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's something that we don't recognize about ourselves. So, yeah, definitely need the old mirror held up there.
Well, that was so amazing. And I really hope that we continue to hear from Brandon, hear him in his coaching as he's doing coaching within sports into business and helping other leaders go further forward. And we loved having him on the show. So anyone who needs some help on those areas he talked about, the
Who knew
funding,
it? BNZ's the place to go. Yeah.
this is why we do it, isn't it? Share the info people didn't know about New Zealand and Japan working together. Go for it.
All right, that's all for this episode. Stay tuned. More Jandals coming soon. Matanya.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our guests' links in the show notes.
This podcast is brought to you today by Catherine O'Connell Law and Pod Launch with Jane. If you have a great story you think should be on the show, come and find us on LinkedIn or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.
Matane!